Our senior reporter Patrick Amimo covered that particular briefing for us and now joins us live with an update. Patrick, fortunately, you covered the AU Observer mission as well yesterday and the Elog today. How different are these reports with regard to a presidential election that is just completed?
Thank you, Akisa. With regard to AU report, yesterday they issued a preliminary report, but it was so shallow. It's something that could not give details on what happened on the field as far as the election, October 26th elections are concerned. But later in the evening, yesterday, we saw the European Union give their preliminary report, which was quite comprehensive, and it did isolate on some of their concerns about it, especially with regard to the absence of party agents in most of the polling stations. They did say that aspect did compromise this particular election, and also did indicate that the observers, there was an opportunity for manipulation of data. They gave some of the examples, like in Garissa Township constituency, where they did indicate that there was a malpractice where some of those figures were being tampered with. They also talked about maybe the violence that did envelop some parts of the country did also affect this particular election, and also the low voter turnout. But now, also we've seen now the Elog come out, an Elog observation group. They are also focusing on this idea or on this aspect of the lack of party agents in all polling stations, and also there was observers, majority of observers in these polling stations. That is one of the reasons they are citing that cannot that they are citing they cannot determine whether this election was credible or not, and also given the political environment. But joining me is Regina Opondo, who is the chair of Elog steering committee, just to shed more light on this aspect. Yes, looking at it, your report, it's like you're casting doubts about its credibility. What is the situation?
What we're saying that when you look at the elections as a process, as the Chief Justice reminded us, not the event, then we can't speak about credibility even at this stage. You have to look at the process in its whole totality. So start from the pre-election phase, the actual election day, and the post-election process. And we're still in the post-election process because you never know, a case might go tomorrow to court. We've had people talk about 90 days. We've had people wanting to challenge, this exercise now, as was challenged last time. So, as we said last time, it's difficult to speak about credibility at this stage if you want to talk about the whole process. But we do feel that this election that happened on the 26th of October had several challenges that have made the environment not conducive for elections to happen in a free, fair, and credible manner. So some of the things we've looked at, number one, is the issue of security and of peace. You must have an environment for peace, for elections to happen, which was not possible. Very many people have died, very many people were displaced, very many people were not secure to come out of their homes, and a number were disenfranchised because the environment was not secure. So that might not have been a fault of IEBC, but it's a problem of the general environment. You have to talk about the turnout, which was much lower than last time. While in certain areas it was very high, in other areas there was no turnout. And we're talking about the country as a totality, so you must talk about that. If you talk about issues of voter education and whether people had enough information to participate in the process, then even that area we have a bit of a challenge because IEBC only had 60 days, and remember they were struggling to do voter education even in the period leading up to the 8th of August. Then in this 1 month or so, it's highly doubtful. We've not managed to observe issues of voter education, but it's highly doubtful that they did significant and comprehensive voter education. So that's already one place that there's, it's not 100%. And there are very many other issues. So we've talked about even the regulation of campaign financing. We know that the law was suspended last time around for the next election, but we also know that IEBC has some powers under the Constitution to look at issues of campaign financing. Now, when the field is not level and some people have bigger muscles than others, that's not a fair football match. So that's one area we think needs looking into. But consistently from March until now, we've seen consistent electoral offences being committed and very little being done in terms of justice around electoral offences, whether it is commission of violence against women, whether it is commission of violence against other people, whether it is bribery, etc. So that continues, and it is done by all political parties before the 8th, but even in this period we've seen some of that happening. So to be able to start speaking towards a process that brings everybody together, that is inclusive, that has public participation, that ticks all the many box that form an election, then it becomes difficult.
Maybe lastly, just looking at the voter register is still a concern. What's your recommendation as Elog?
From the preliminary work we've done around the voter register, we've done an audit looking at doing data tests. We see that some little work has been done in terms of cleaning the order, but it's not enough. So a lot of work still needs to be done to implement some of the things KPMG said, but also as Elog, there were some recommendations we had given before the election, which don't seem to have been effected. So for me, one of the priorities, if you're looking at electoral reform, beyond the discussion around beyond the other discussions that are ongoing right now, the voter register is one area that would be easy to get right if we are committed. It would require not just IEBC, but the registrar of births and deaths, and all these other agencies to get the information up to date. And that's something that we can do in the next 1 month, 2 months if we are serious about it.
Thank you so much. That's been Regina Opondo, the chairperson of the steering committee of Elog, just trying to share with us some of the findings from their mission with regard to the October 26th election, which now has left the country with many questions. Which way Kenya? Was this particular election credible or not? And they've also said that there is need for the political leadership from both the opposition and Jubilee to come and dialogue to give a proper way for Kenya to ensure that there is peace and tranquility after this election. Akisa.